I've already talked about a few indie games on this channel. Head-On, Peripetia, DDS, each works of genuine passion that you should definitely play, working as throwbacks to older titles and expanding on their concepts. The Citadel is one of those games. Developed by the Japanese artist Doku Omori, it combines the combat and level design of Doom and Marathon, plus the aesthetics of PC Engine and x68K games. Add in modern anime waifu bait with the body horror of Geiger and Cronenberg, and you've got a pretty interesting result. Although seemingly meeting every requirement to be a hit, why has the Citadel been largely overlooked? Okay. Running on the Unreal Engine, incorporating all these graphics and unique sprite work in these really large maps breaks performance hard. Even with patches alleviating most of the worst problems, the result is constant screen tearing, occasional crashes, glitches in the UI, and poor translation. One possible solution for the performance hiccups is to switch from full screen to windowed, though I'm not sure if it actually helps. This is all pretty bad stuff for a fast-paced FPS where death can be almost instant and you can be fighting upwards of a dozen enemies at any one time. There were also allegations regarding the explicitness of the content, and yeah, this game is pretty horny. When coupled with the violence and character designs, it can give off a misunderstanding of Doku's art style and intentions in the game's presentation. However, you can look up the other work, and well, it doesn't do any favors. This controversy probably harmed the initial impressions, taking focus away from the actual quality experience of the Citadel. The setting is kept quite vague besides you playing as the Martyr, sent into the Citadel to kill 7 angels and their followers who have been driven insane by a false god deep within the complex. The background lore and details are vague besides a summary right here. Alright, hope you got that. This makes the Citadel's narrative unfortunately minimal at best. There's no back and forth between the characters, you can't talk with them much and learn about the world further, and there's seemingly little to read about in-game despite such an interesting setting. I feel there's something special here, as Doku has nailed a theme and tone that most games struggle to achieve. The artwork, from the characters to the actual Citadel itself, has an otherworldly biomechanical style that truly stands out. I've talked about it before, how indie developers typically only focus on a few elements of a game, either leading to less gameplay mechanics or narrative depth. The Citadel fits this, as although I wanted more from the story, the FPS gameplay and varied, challenging encounters is where it shines. Broken up into 7 acts, connected via a hub world, each contains several levels and a boss fight with one of the angels until the false god becomes available, not unlike Quake's Shub-Niggurath. The early areas are the typical hallways and rooms, unlocked by keycards and an end-level exit hole you jump down, before the maps open up into massive expanses and towering vertical structures. Even with such large levels, it's generally very linear. There are a few puzzles outside of dealing with environmental hazards and a hefty amount of platforming in the late game. Only a couple of sections were a bit confusing as they kinda blurred together with the greyish-blue texture palette used everywhere. Thankfully, these maps are used well for the near constant fighting. There's a large variety of enemy types, from rogue girls tossing hammers to stormtrooper chicks packing assault rifles and mechanized forces like tanks, cannons and mechs that'll vaporize you with energy blasts. They're all very deadly and aggressive, with even lowly grunts capable of shellacking you. Some levels do contain a copious amount of annoying drones that snipe you from above. Thankfully, this is the exception. The angel bosses in each act are distinctive in their monstrous appearance and attacks, becoming a bullet hell arena, possibly acting as a Touhou reference. It's all pretty fun, albeit they can be spongy. Backing the Martyr up is a great arsenal of really fucking cool weapons. The basic melee axe is straight out of log and able to clear through any waifu easily. The standard pistol and assault rifle are useful throughout the game due to secondary fires launching off a grenade or laser beam respectively. There's a pump action and later on a semi-auto shotgun that chew through opponents. The dual-wieldable SMGs, a chain gun that doubles as a flamethrower, and a sniper rifle round up the usual roster, followed by special weapons including rocket launchers, energy weapons, and a couple single-use heavy pieces. Point is, the Citadel has a lot of guns that look neat and are fun to use, and if all else fails, you can just kick enemies into the Shadow Realm. In addition, there's a selection of equipment such as grenades, artillery strikes, remote bombs, and items like stamina refills, blood bags, and food rations. These can be purchased from vendors in the maps or of Tycho, a friendly merchant, with gold scattered around and left over from dead enemies. Tycho also offers ammo, armor, health, and upgrades to your weapons. He's pretty neat. It's actually too easy to stock up, as you can sell excess gear, making treasure hunting a bit moot. There are also sections where you can pilot a mech, and it's pretty fucking keno. Controlling the Martyr is fairly smooth. You run fast and have to be careful when jumping, as you can easily fling yourself across the map, and there's a few post-boss and hidden level upgrades that give minor ability boosts. I do appreciate Doku's inclusion of body awareness, really adds to the immersion. Disappointingly, the enemies don't show off much dexterity, preferring instead to shamble towards you or stay put and plug away, allowing you to sidestep their attacks or kite them from a distance. Unlike other boomer shooters, the Citadel goes beyond obscure references and Easter eggs to ancient franchises by adding in a few mechanical quirks that stand it out. Your character is a glass cannon that can scramble through the maps easily and wield all these guns, yet can die very quickly and has a small health pool on normal. Unless you buy the best armor, you can't tank enemy hits like you would elsewhere. Dying either sends you back to the level start or a pattern buffer if you picked up extra lives. Alongside that, you can lean around corners, there's bullet drop, combat and speed reloading, adjustable recoil feedback, enemy detection, and firearm jamming. Doku's even crammed in bullet time when ODing on O2 canisters. Very cool and very useful. Much of the combat system feels derived from Brutal Doom and similar mods, giving combat more flavor and replay value. You'll face dozens if not hundreds of enemies every stage, and their placement and various mechanics means firefights don't play out the same every time. You're forced to quickly adapt in each situation, retaining an interesting combat dynamic till the very end. Admittedly, the late game does become quite simple as you've got tons of gold to stock up on the best weapons and armor, allowing grenade spamming in every room. Though it's definitely fun being able to rip and tear through these stages, and the final fight is appropriately tough. In the aftermath of each battle, you'll quickly realize that the Citadel is not fucking around with its score, and yeah, it's a bit excessive methinks. Not sure if it's like being subversive for the whole angle of anime waifus getting absolutely pounded, or suggestive of something else. In any case, all these jibs are likely one of the culprits for the poor performance. The rest being the unique art and cel shading that makes the Citadel look honestly great at times. Though this is the most prominent aspect of the Citadel's presentation, the most surprising element is the good selection of music, particularly the piano pieces used for the opening and hub area. There's plenty of nice atmospheric and electronic industrial music that harkens back to the late 90s, as well as, funnily enough, RPG Maker games from the 2000s. This selection actually comes from a royalty-free library instead of some indie musician. Whether this is an indictment of how derivative indie music is, that it can be effectively replicated for free, is another discussion. It's the kind of stuff that would fit well with more story-heavy moments. Yet again, Citadel largely lacks this. There's seemingly no direct playlist for them, otherwise I'd feature them more in the video, instead of using marathon remixes and other synthwave tracks. The Citadel is a really solid, unique FPS title that feels purposely made as a hidden gem of sorts, eschewing more widespread appeal for its own specific audience and identity. Well, at least it panders to my interests. I hope that Doku's upcoming sequel, Beyond Citadel, carries a more fleshed out story with improved performance. Thus far, it looks really cool, doubling down further on the marathon influences. The Citadel is a game I can recommend despite its issues, because it's a fun, challenging, and satisfying shooter that left an impression on me, and that's something I'd like to play more of.